Dr. Mike Oye, who will be presenting tonight. And as you know, this is Medical Mondays with Dr. O. We welcome you all. On behalf of Dr. O, who is airborne right now on our way to Lagos, I'll be co-hosting the program tonight. We hope to make it very interactive and very informative at the same time. So please be ready. I think the presenter tonight does not mind interruption. If you have a question you want to raise while he's presenting, he welcomes that. So tonight we'll be trying to see the connection between diabetes and cancer. And if there is any connection, then we want to know what's next. Then what, if there is? So what does that mean? Does that mean is a life or death sentence? We're going to hear that tonight. But before we bring our speaker, I just want to remind us that Dr. O is on our way to Lagos. And during the time she will be in Lagos on the 15th and 16th of December, she will be having a 2-day medical mission, which is being co-hosted by Global Vision Foundation and Heart Disease Prevention and Training Center, Americares, which is the supplier of the medication and supplies. So the flyer is currently on the screen. If you have relatives in Lagos who might benefit from this mission, you can reach out to them and let them be participants and, be blessed, during this season when everything is expensive in Nigeria and people can't even get some things that they really need, even when they have the funds. So without much ado tonight, I want to present to you Dr. Mike Oye from Texas, and he is going to present the topic tonight, and we are ready to listen to Dr. Mike Oye. I know many of you who have seen him before, you've listened to him before, he's an encyclopedia botanica. It's an encyclopedia botanica because any plant you want to mention, he will give you the botanical taxonomy and all of that stuff. So tonight we're in for another treat for such mental challenge as well as exchange. Welcome, Dr. Mike Oye. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are on, sir. So
okay.
It's your turn.
Thank you so much. I welcome everybody to this session. The topic for tonight is a very interesting one. We are dealing with two very important and common chronic diseases: diabetes and cancer. Any connection between them? In what ways are they related? What is common to them? How does one affect the other? Is there a common source? And if there is, what are the implications? How can we deal with both of them together? And what are the resources for dealing with them? We want to consider these subtopics. I will only speak very briefly and allow a lot of time for questions and interactions so that we go away with a package that will benefit us and benefit other people. First and foremost, what is the root of diabetes? And then what is the root of cancer? Diabetes, simply put, is the presence of too much sugar in the blood and this too much sugar is constantly being turned into fat. The fat accumulates in different parts of the body, particularly in the abdomen and around many organs. And the biochemistry of the fat itself produces all types of dangerous chemicals that cause other chronic diseases. The reason why the sugar accumulates in the blood is because the pancreas that produces insulin continues to produce insulin to combat that excess sugar, but there's a stage where the insulin itself becomes ineffective in dealing with the excess sugar. And we call that insulin resistance. Now, this is found mainly in people who are suffering from diabetes 2. That is diabetes which is not actually inherited. It is not congenital, but it is acquired because of wrong eating habits or continuous eating of unbalanced food, food that contains too much of carbohydrates. Many people all around the world today eat too much carbohydrate without many vitamins, without many minerals, with a portion of protein very low, and even the quality of what it's eating is usually very low. Junk food in America, all over the place, is one of the major causes. Now, there are people who also overeat, and the excess food has to be changed into sugar. And then there are those whose tongues require sugar all the time. They have sweet tongues, sweet teeth. And America is #1 in that. Almost every food has some syrup, particularly corn syrup, added to it. And unconsciously, people, saturate their bodies with sugar. So this is the main reason why many people suffer from excess sugar in the blood. Now, when diabetes comes up, there is a lot of inflammation in the body and all types of pains in the body. Urination increases. Some people get fat, and the fatness itself increases the problem. There is body weakness. The nervous system is affected. Eyesight gets muddled up. Glaucoma and other things can develop. That is briefly something about diabetes. On the other hand, cancer develops mainly because there are some deficiencies in the diet, and also because some poisonous substances have accumulated in the body. Let me even give one simple example. Chronic constipation can be a pathway to cancer. When there's constipation and a person is not visiting the bathroom regularly, the feces stays longer in the colon, the large intestines. And if the diet is particularly rich in animal protein, meat, and so on, the byproducts of digestion that get to the colon begin to putrefy. And some dangerous gases containing sulfur compounds, nitrogen compounds are formed by all types of decay in some parts of the colon. And these gases are reabsorbed into the bloodstream for every cell of the body to absorb the gases. Such gases can stimulate cells of different organs and tissues to begin to multiply abnormally. It is also posited that some viruses can be involved in the abnormal multiplication of cells. A number of things combine together because of the unhealthy atmosphere in which the cells exist. And then the cells protest by multiplying abnormally. There are also some genetic factors involved. But where the connection comes in between cancer and diabetes is that when fat begins to accumulate in the body, some of the poisonous products that are produced begin to stimulate cells of the body to multiply abnormally. So that's a common root cause. Diabetes increases the fat in the body. The fat produces chemicals that make diabetes worse and also initiate things for cancer. So the two are connected in that way. But diabetes actually is a stepping stone to some of the cancers in the body. Because of this connection, if a person is going to deal with the treatment of cancer, it is good for us to consider the root cause of the cancer, or to find out whether the person also has diabetes. And that will form some criterion for combating both diseases together. If we decide to treat only cancer without considering the presence of diabetes, it may not be as effective as if we found out clearly whether the person was also suffering from diabetes. It is better to develop a protocol that will face both challenges together. Fortunately, in nature, there are herbs and spices that have properties controlling both diabetes and cancer, helping in the healing of both of them. Now, I use the word healing deliberately because both can be healed. Both cancer and diabetes can be reversed. The interesting thing is that many plants that are medicinal have the properties of both. In the same plant, you can find complex phytochemicals that deal with diabetes and other chemicals that deal with cancer in the same plant. And they do far more than that. You can find just a single plant that is multi-purpose, dealing with cancer, diabetes, blood pressure, inflammation, and so on and so forth. And a careful study of such plants and a proper, appropriate combination of them in the right proportions can lead to a reversal of both diseases together. We are going to give examples of such plants and spices, and then we can discuss further on that. The reason why I want us to discuss such plants is because we human beings were made with chemicals and substances, minerals and so on, that are found in the soil. Whether you believe it or not, we depend on the soil for almost everything we need to remain alive and to continue to grow. The minerals and other things in the soil from the rocks below are the things that plants use to produce carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, and all types of things that are needed for the biochemistry of the body. Of course, in addition is water that comes from both the ground and from the skies. All these things are used by the body to create building blocks for the tissues of the body. And taking them in appropriate proportions is extremely important for maintaining health and for growth. The immune system in the body needs all these things in the right proportions. And the mechanism of the body is such that if there is excess of anything, such excesses are excreted out. But also if there is deficiency of any of them, then diseases like diabetes and cancer can come up. So balanced diet is extremely important in the treatment of both diabetes and cancers. In naturopathy, we think of food as medicine. Eating the right type of vegetables, eating the right type of nuts, eating the right types of fruits and spices and so on will supply all that is needed by the immune system to maintain sound health. But there are also many plants that are not normally edible that are very medicinal and useful for the body. So I now want to quickly speak about things to eat to maintain healthy body, void of both diabetes and cancer. I will only give a few principles. We all know many of them already. Plant food is very important for maintaining body resistance against diseases. Particularly vegetables and fruits. Oranges, pineapples, all types of fruits are good for health. Papaya, name them. There are some tubers and roots also that are very good. Carrots, beets, ginger, turmeric, black pepper, many of the spices. Still, some vegetables like cabbage, spinach, kale, broccoli are particularly good to prevent and also treat cancers and diabetes too. If we want to maintain protein level, beans, lentils, some protein from vegetables, and so on, are good for health. Many of the nuts are very good too. Cashew nuts, peanuts. It's interesting that even in peanuts, that pinkish cover of the pea is very rich in some special antioxidants. You even have resveratrol inside it. And mentioning that, you can mention even grapes, the seed in grapes, resveratrol against viruses. There are so many things. I know some of you are going to mention some things after I have stopped and we discuss together. But I am talking of eating things that are right from the soil. And God has made the compounds inside there to be building blocks for our body. Many of these things I'm mentioning also help in detoxifying the body, counteracting toxins in the body. And we excrete these things out. Another very good thing about depending more on vegetable materials is because of the presence of fiber. That helps very much bowel movement. And not only that, many of the useful bacteria in the colon depend on the digestion of some complex carbohydrates in fiber to produce wonderful amino acids and vitamins that are necessary for the body and that cannot be obtained even by eating. Of course, part of diet is drinking enough water day by day, because all the physiological activities in the body have to be done in an environment of water, the best solvent. Now, there are things that are not normally eaten and yet are useful for healing the body. In the case of diabetes, and also cancer, let me put them together, since we are dealing with them, interactively. There are some plants whose spores can produce phytochemicals to help to combat both cancer and diabetes. Some of them, which are present here in America, include black seed, bay leaf, fenugreek, turmeric, ginger. Hello.
Head, sir. I think it was just a microphone that was on.
Oh, okay, that's all right. There are other ones that are mainly tropical and are very effective. The popular soursop. Then there is bitter leaf. There's bitter melon. We have then dandelion or dandelion. We have tender mango leaves. We have guava leaf. Incidentally, the fruit of guava is very rich in vitamins for combating diseases. We have a plant called Physalis angulata in the garden egg family. We have Paullinia pinnata, that's guarana. There are so many plants that have got the properties for both cancer and diabetes. And all the ones I've mentioned are inclusive. You will see that I have intentionally not mentioned chemicals that are artificially manufactured. This is because of the many side effects, negative side effects of such man-made chemicals. And in naturopathy, we think of not causing harm to the body. So the herbs that are chosen very carefully. If that naturopath knows what he is doing, and then things are done in moderation, the dosage is done in such a way that we believe in the principle of not harming any part of the body. Because even a good thing, if you take a good thing in excess, it becomes bad. Even if you drink too much water, you get intoxicated with water. So there are measurements, basic measurements for using herbs and so on. For example, metformin. Metformin has been very popularized for diabetes. But there are many consequences from the use of it for a long time. Chemotherapy, radiotherapy, radiation have helped many people. And at the same time, we also know that it has caused a lot of harm to many people too. These side effects are the reasons why people like me go for natural ways of healing. And one of the reasons why many people don't like natural way of healing is that it is not as rapid as those other ones I've mentioned. But natural ways usually get to the root of the problem, and the physiological activities restore health. I am going to stop speaking, and I know that most of the people listening to me are experts in different fields of medicine, and we can discuss together and come up with something that can help us and help our people as we contact them in our families, in our communities. But let me say one thing. Over the decades, I have used a combination of many herbs to deal effectively with many chronic diseases. And if people followed the counseling and the education that went with the treatment, they have remained healthy for many, many years without much terrible side effects. And the more we return to nature, the better for us. I myself are a living example of sound health. Yes, I get sick, but I get to the root of why that sickness came, and I know what to use. Thankfully, God has so blessed us in this world with so many things that will heal our bodies and cause us not only to live long, but to live well. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Dr. Ajagbe.
Thank you so much, sir. That was when I called you Encyclopedia Botanica. Many people probably didn't get that, but yeah, thank you so much for the wealth of information that you've shared with us. We are truly blessed to have you share such information with us. And one of the things I observe is that you made it sound so straightforward and simple to understand. Because when somebody who is not medically oriented decides to try to figure out about diabetes and cancer, they make it look so complicated for them. And just by simply explaining what diabetes is all about, you know, what we will call hyperglycemic state, that is too much sugar in the blood. The cancer, we know, is when the cells are misbehaving, they are, outstepping their bounds of control, so they keep on multiplying and getting bigger and destroying adjacent structures and stuff like that. So yes, you have really made it clear to us that there are connections between these two conditions that human beings find themselves. Yes, I believe there are questions people have. I don't want to do too much of commenting while there are people with questions. At this point, please, you can signify by raising your hand and letting us know that you are interested in asking a question or making some comments. So the floor is open now for questions and comments, for further interactions. But if I don't see anybody, raising their question, I will continue to stimulate discussion. Maybe that will, make some people come up with some question. Okay, I have somebody raising their hand. I'm not sure who this person is. It's a Zoom user. You can identify yourself. That would be perfect. You can identify yourself and speak and ask your question.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dr. Lupeju.
Welcome. Uncle Remy, welcome.
Okay. A nice lecture, trying to associate what we eat and drink with cancer development in the body. People say it's what you eat, and that's what you are. So
you are correct.
So, sir, I guess my question would be, we know that there's a lot of association of eating meat products, beef, pork, in all these so-called animal products.
Yeah.
That they tell us is not good for us. But as you and I know, many things that's not good for us is what we do, is what we eat. People love their beef everywhere in the whole world. The Nigerians eat live beef, Kenyans, American big steaks, half done, well done, rare. All these things, meat products from animals that we all eat. And this has been associated with development of cancer.
I'm happy that you're bringing this up.
Yes, that you mentioned that many of the natural products from the soil, plants, fruits, vegetables, are good for us. So now my question is, has there been any association or disassociation with people who are vegetarians, purely vegetarians, because they get scared, with all this that we know about eating animal products and meat and all that. So they just decide to become vegetarians only. A study's been done to show that being a vegetarian has been associated with decrease in cancer development or not. So if I become a vegetarian today, am I likely to have, to really be a little bit less immune, from cancer because I don't eat animal products anymore? So that's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a very, very good question. First of all, let me say that there are some animals that can be eaten. Let me refer you to a real wonderful thesis in the Bible. It is Leviticus chapter 11. Leviticus chapter 11. I'm going to simplify it and summarize it. God told Moses to tell the children of Israel, for health's sake, what to eat and what not to eat among the animals. Although God's desire was that they should eat only plants, now that they wanted to eat animals, he told them what to eat and what not to eat. Because some animals are considered clean, compatible with human flesh. and others were, regarded as unclean. That means they harbored poisonous things and germs. All animals in that chapter that were to be eaten by man, all of them, whether mammals or birds or insects or fishes, all of them are vegetarians. They eat only vegetables, plant parts, leaves, roots, nuts, plant bark. Now, the categories are ruminants. The first class is ruminants. Ruminants are mammals with shoes on, split shoes. And they chew the cud. That means when they take in vegetables, they chew the vegetable 2 times. They chew it quickly at first and swallow, and then they regurgitate and do serious mastication to the semi-chewed ones. And they have 4 stomachs. And the 4 stomachs deal with the food and absorb the nutrients into the flesh. So those are primary eaters. And we can eat those animals and be healthy, but they should depend only on grass, only on green vegetation. Those are ruminants. They include cattle, sheep, goats, antelopes, deer, buffalo. That's one group. The second group are birds. Only birds that depend so much on green vegetation and seeds and nuts are to be eaten. This includes birds like turkey, chicken, guinea fowl, pigeon, dove, and so on. If you go to the insects, crickets, grasshoppers, locusts, those are to be eaten. They eat only grass. If you go to the fishes, only scaly fishes with fins are to be eaten. All of them are plankton eaters. They eat algae and other green material in both the sea and fresh waters. They include salmon, herring, cod, stockfish, and so on, mackerel. They are all scale fishes and are vegetarians. That chapter says all those ones are clean. Every other thing in the form of animal is prohibited for good health. Now, this has nothing to do with godliness or salvation. It is purely for health. And because God wanted the children of Israel to be very healthy, he commanded them to do that. If we borrow a leaf from there, we are going to be very healthy. Now, having said that, today's production of even those animals I have mentioned is what comes into question. Because instead of feeding them on grass, vegetation, we are keeping them intensively, many of them, and are giving them, artificial food, injecting them with hormones, injecting them with all types of artificial antibiotics, and so on. So the meat produced, even in cows and sheep and so on, is already, polluted. And those chemicals come into our bodies as foreign things. And that is one of the causes of cancer, particularly, and many other diseases, chronic diseases in our bodies. It affects the nervous system, it affects the blood system, it affects the bones, it affects the marrow, which is even the seat of producing immunity for us. So we have complicated things by that. But if we are able to raise animals, in the natural way, we can eat those ones that have been suggested. Am I answering the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Please let me quickly 1 second. Yeah, of course you did. And I'm sure many of us are wondering what is left to eat then of this meat, because we know that all of them, eggs, beef, cows, whatever, all chemically grown. So that goes back to my question again.
That's the problem we have.
Do? Huh?
Well,
yeah. So vegetarian is the only thing left.
Yeah, but you can do something about it. There's a passage in the Bible in Jeremiah 29, verse 5. It says, build houses, live in them, plant gardens, eat the fruit thereof. Now, you see, you can have a backyard garden where you grow the few things you love to eat. And you know that you can have a small poultry for yourself. You can have a few goats. You can have some pigeons. You can raise some turkeys. And if you are in the city and you cannot do that because you don't have the land for it, you can travel even 20 miles to a farm where animals are produced purely on grass. And there are many, many in many countries. And you can buy your meat from that place. There are places where things are produced organically, naturally, where you can buy things. It may be costly, but I think for our health's sake, we should be able to spend some money.
Well, thank you so much for the exchange. I believe that there are many questions that might still come up from that. We talk, Dr. Elupeju was alluding to vegetarians. I'm sure some people might be wondering about vegans, or combination of those people who have different aversions of food. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you so much for that. Dr. Ezugwu, you have a hand raised. You have your hand raised.
Yes. Dr. thank you so much for that presentation. That's beautiful, well defined, and it's really to the point of what we need to know. My question has to do with the nuts. You talked about peanut and the pink cover, and the nutritional benefits of that. If you can comment on that some more. And then also, some people eat different nuts. Some of them like it cooked, some like it raw, some like it roasted, or what are the variations and what are lost with those type of different preparations? and which one would be more beneficial in general?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One thing that is precautionary about nuts is to make sure that you eat nuts in moderation. Eating too much nuts at a time can be dangerous because there's a lot of, lipid in nuts. And the body doesn't need too much lipid. So we have to watch that. Again, some of the nuts, if not well prepared, processed, can contain aflatoxin, particularly peanuts. And we know that aflatoxin can cause a lot of harm to the body. There are other things, viruses and fungi, that can contaminate nuts. So we need to be careful about that. But having said that, the nuts are very, very rich in antioxidants. They are also rich in oils that are good for the body. Olive oil, groundnut oil, coconut oil, sunflower oil, they have their wonderful properties. And being informed about their properties can let us know what to choose and what to eat. Some of them can be eaten raw like that. Once they are palatable in the mouth, the raw ones are good. But others, like cashew, will have to be, roasted for them to be palatable in the mouth. Peanuts, you can eat raw if you want to.
Almonds.
Yeah, yes, that's true. Almonds. You can eat almonds without roasting. There's one I want to remember. Okay, I don't know whether you know members of the melon family.
Yeah, pumpkin seeds.
Yeah. Oh, pumpkin is so wonderful. Pumpkin is extremely rich. In fact, the zinc in it is so important for our health.
And selenium.
Yeah, selenium and zinc, yeah, correct. And men particularly need to eat a lot of pumpkin from time to time because of our genital health. It deals with prostate enlargement and cancer. Yeah. I don't know whether I've answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. Dr. Zugu, do you see have a follow-up question?
I think you've addressed it really very well. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Gazam, you have your hand raised, and you have a question in the chat that says something about aristolochic acid. Could you ask your question and expatiate on that?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ajagbe. So again, thank you, Dr. Oyo, for the presentation. Okay, so my question is, there are some plants that also have phytochemicals that may be carcinogenic. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And so my question is, are there telltale signs, and how do we avoid using this in our diets? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. What I would say is that there has been so much research done on many plants, and what we need to do is to know poisonous ones and non-poisonous ones, and select the best among them, combine them in appropriate ways for the benefit of our bodies and our health. My people perish for lack of knowledge. So there must be a real study of plants, their taxonomy, their properties, and then you should even know their interaction, positive interactions, negative interactions. We should know which one is to be taken at a particular time, which ones cannot be combined. So it's a whole field of science. And I think studying them will help us to avoid the dangerous ones. I'll just put it generally like that.
Thank you so much, Brother Mike. Now, another plant that may necessarily be watched, which we've talked about extensively on this program, is Hospital Tufa. Hospital Tufa, Efoyanokpaja, or Jatropha tharogensis. Tharogensis, that is a very good plant, very edible, it also contains some amount of cyanide product.
Yeah, correct.
One has to be very careful about.
Exactly.
As Jatropha is very healthy to consume. One has to be very careful about the preparation.
You are correct.
You have to avoid it is to avoid eating it raw.
In fact, I personally don't advise people to eat Jatropha.
Right. So Jatropha raw, if you make a poultice of that,
that's good.
Could make it as a gum infection preparation. It actually works against gum disease.
Correct.
It's one of those things that if you don't know, you don't know. But if you know it, you know it can be very helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
The poison in some of these plants, like Dr. Ghazal has said, need to be considered when we try to read off the web. When you read something about something in the web, be very careful, know about potential harm that such information can carry. All right.
Very important.
Before we go on to some other questions by raising the hand, there are some questions that were raised here on the chat. One is by Daniel Akintonde. It says, can herbs be combined with chemotherapy, for example, in prostate cancer to perhaps reduce side effects? Can you address that? And I think he has another question also. Can you please recommend some herbs for prostate cancer treatment, sir?
Thank you. Generally speaking, there are herbs that help to reduce the effect, the side effects of chemo. And they can be used side by side with, chemotherapy. One of them is Physalis angulata. Physalis, P-H-Y-S-A-L-I-S, Physalis. The second name is angulata, A-N-G-U-L-A-T-A. Another one, which is very common, is Moringa oleifera. I think most people know Moringa.
Yeah.
Moringa oleifera.
Thank you, sir. For those who have not heard about Moringa before, if you are hearing it for the first time, Moringa is one of those miracle plants that God has blessed us with. It's present all over the world, but primarily in the tropical climate. So we do have it everywhere in Nigeria.
Sure.
I know that will be in Ghana, all of the West African, or let me just say the African countries, because Malawi has it as their own gold. They are the biggest exporters of Moringa products.
It's all over Africa.
I know, but I'm just saying that most of the products you may find on the shelf, like Moringa powder, Moringa tea, may come from Malawi or some part of East Africa.
Okay.
Nigeria has a lot of the plants, so you can source it from your country. If you're not from Nigeria, you can source Moringa products from your country. But many of the African stores in the US may be carrying Moringa products. So you can check.
Sorry.
So you can check many of those stores. I know one place that you can find Moringa powder, and that is in Burlington. If you have Burlington, store in your neighborhood, you can check it out. Sometimes they don't have it, but if you keep going back, you may get there and find some. They do have very refined products there. So were you going to say something else about Moringa, sir?
No, I was going to say one or two more examples of common plants that one can take along with
chemotherapy. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Particularly those who are in the tropical lands in Africa and so on. Our own local dandelion is extremely good to counter any side effect of chemo. And its technical name is Lactuca. Lactuca, Lactuca. Lactuca. The second name is Taraxacifolia. Taraxa, Taraxacifolia. Lactuca taraxacifolia. That big name in Yoruba is very simple. Efo Nyani.
Yeah.
Nyani is the name.
Yeah.
Extremely common, prolific. Anybody can get it anywhere. And yet very powerful. Incidentally, it works for diabetes. It works for kidney stones. It works for gallbladder stones. It's a very versatile plant. And our villagers eat it as, vegetable.
Yep.
You can research more on it, but it's very effective. Well, in the European countries and America, we know common dandelion. It's a cousin to that one. And it also works the same way. No, that one is called Taraxacum. Taraxacum officinale. Taraxacum officinale. Then common guava leaf, just ordinary guava leaf made into tea is very effective.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So there is, let's see, Moline. Okay. I think, you see this. Okay. All right. There's some comments in the chat that says there's a school of thought that says peanut is bad. That's one. And then pumpkin seed is that ugu. Is that ugu called?
No, it's not ugu.
So
Pumpkin seed is not ugu.
Okay, so it says in Obong in Efik language. So which one, how do you separate, how do you distinguish between ugu and pumpkin seed?
Ugu is fluted pumpkin.
Okay.
Now, the shape of it shows you that it's fluted. It's a very big fruit, about at least 1 foot long. And the diameter is about the diameter is about 4 inches.
Does it have many to it?
White pumpkin is roundish, and it's about 2 times the size of a big orange. The seeds are smaller than the seeds of melon, egusi. While the seeds of fluted pumpkin, which is ugu, is a very large seed. But they all belong to the same family. Momordicaceae. Incidentally, all the plants of that family are hypoglycemic. All of them deal with diabetes positively. And the best among them is Momordica carantia, bitter melon.
Thank you, sir. So
Yep.
Let's move on. There are some other comments and questions. There's another question about, can you please recommend some herbs for, still the same question. Can you still recommend some herbs for prostate cancer treatments?
That Physalis I mentioned is good for prostate cancer. Physalis angulata. Bitter leaf is good for prostate cancer. Black seed is good for prostate cancer. Saw palmetto. And Annona. Annona muricata. That's soursop. Annona muricata. A combination of some of these will be very effective. One can add turmeric and black pepper. And what those things I've mentioned, if you form them into a formula, you are going to deal with prostate cancer effectively.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I think somebody wants to get the full spelling of the Lactuca taxocephalia.
Lactuca. Is that one okay?
Lactuca, Lactuca.
Yeah. Then Tarax, Tarax.
Taraxifolia.
Tarax, Taraxa, C-I now.
C-I or T-I?
C for common.
Cephalia.
Yes, Taraxacephalia.
All right, Taraxacephalia. So I'm typing it in now for those who just want to know how to spell that.
Now that is Yari.
Yes, okay.
Dr. Ajagbe, please, would you also type in our vernacular names, if that would, because that will help a lot.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir.
So, all right, so let's keep talking about what is going on. I see one hand up. I'll type that. Or if somebody can type it faster than me, you can just put it there. The name is Yorin. Yorin is Y-A-N-R-I-N. Yorin. That's how to put that. The hands up, Dr. Kukuola, and then after that, Dr. Ilupeju again. All right, Dr. Kukuola, go ahead. Dr. Kukuola, go ahead, on mute. Dr. Ilupeju, please go ahead if you can unmute and ask your question. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Once again, great presentation. We've had so many things tonight, many of them unfamiliar, plant names, these names, things that can be very good for us. So how do we put all this together? Have you written a book or where we can get some of this information? Because there are so many of them, and they're not the usual familiar things that many of us are familiar with. I mean, we grew up, as young children, where our grandparents, use roots and all that, especially for me. We know they know all these things, but now you're mentioning them, and many of us are not familiar with that. So that's just a comment. My question is, as a gynecologist, I deal with infertility issues. And as we know, one of the problems with infertility is that men are also, culprit. And one of the things about men is oligospermia. A man who has a sperm count of less than 20 million has been shown to have trouble getting a woman pregnant. So I have some of my patients' husbands who have those issues, and then they will ask me if I can prescribe something for them to boost their sperm production. And many times I don't really know what to tell them. So I just want to know if you have any comments or any answers to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like the Orthodox doctors whose minds are open to natural things. It's a combination of the two, eclectic medicine, that will work for our people. In many cases, men have infection that does not allow them to produce as many sperms as they should for fertility. And two things I have been combining to help them, if it is infection, are the tender leaves of mango, and ordinary leaves of guava to be used as tea regularly. Within 2 weeks of use, the sperm count will jump up. You see, what I'm describing to you is so simple and common. That is for infection. But sometimes there's a lack of some chemicals that are necessary for production of sperms themselves. And one plant that has been very, very useful in that line is the plant called Dodder, D-O-D-D-E-R. Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Very good. Dodder is a parasitic plant on other plants. Do you know it?
Well, I mean, I've heard of it. I'm not, you know, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Now,
My mind is open, like you said. Yeah.
It grows like native sponge on other plants. Just like native sponge growing on other plants. Like it's thread-like. Anyway, just put down Dodder. The scientific name is Cuscuta chinensis. C-U-S-C-U-T-A, Cuscuta. Then the second name is chinensis. C-H-I-N-E-N-S-I-S. Cuscuta chinensis. Now, chinensis means from China. Dodder. You take the whole plant, it's like sponge, you dry it and pulverize it into powder, and the person can either use it for tea or mix it with soup or mix it with porridge. And it's very effective in boosting very powerful sperms because the motility of the sperms itself is important.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, Dr. Bukola.
Yeah, honestly, Professor Oye, that is a old pharmacopoeia that you downloaded on us. And the question I was going to ask was almost completely asked by the earlier speaker, but I'm going to harp on it a little bit more. I remember when I was in Ibadan in Lagos, we did have physicians who were also treating. I can't remember one big name. I don't know, Kushoya Surulere. He left the faculty and has a big hospital in Kushoya Surulere using herbs. But from what you have said, sir, my question is that, and I also knew that there was a federal government institute for research into herbal portions, medication on leaves and trunks and all that. I did visit it once myself. So, but what I'm trying to say is that are you collaborating with any group? Because in those days, all of us would be lining in front of your door, saying Baba is somewhere, or Babalawo is somewhere. Since we don't do that, and we need a formalized way of learning, because we need to put into formulary so that we can know the dosage that might, and have to modify it based on the side effects or positive effects that we have. Sincerely speaking, since Nigeria started going down, the people in Oshodi and Yanakwaja, I mean, I tell you, they've been taking more herbs than they are going to hospitals now. So this is just the time that we need to ask you, sir, are there any collaborating agencies or institutions you are dealing with or you would like to deal with?
Thank you very much. Mm. Yes, you know, there is that institute you mentioned is there, and there are some of us who are in contact with them. There was a time I was to collaborate with the faculty in UI, the research faculty in pharmacy, but the plan didn't go through. There are some attempts, you know, some people have visited me, but I don't know what happens. People just, you know, they are not forthcoming. And unlike Nigeria, Ghana is far ahead in what we are trying to suggest. And they have, in fact, incorporated the type of thing I'm doing into the curriculum of the medical schools in Ghana. So they are becoming like the Chinese, the Japanese, you know, the Indians, and so on, in making, bringing herbal medicine and so on into the curriculum, which is very good. Yeah, but to answer part of your question, I have 4 small books that describe about 80 different herbs and spices, their properties, and so on and so forth. I am writing other books dealing with very complicated diseases, but those are in the pipeline. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I think if there are suggestions about, you know, such collaborative efforts and where funds could come from to be able to facilitate such ventures, I think, you know, Dr. Mike will be able to entertain that. So let's move on to.
Please, may I come in for a moment? Because I can, this one area where I can work with Dr. Oye. Okay. So the whole focus of my research lab is in ethnobotanicals, and I'm in Minnesota. So that's all I do for a living. So yes.
All right. Let's do the offline connection.
No, I'm just making that connection because I don't know if I will be able to talk with him after that.
No. What's the point of raising it up if you're not going to connect afterwards? You will. So I will make sure you connect to him, and that way we can facilitate that.
And you will tag me along.
Oh, who is tagging along? Okay. We'll figure it out. Okay. Dr. Popola, your hands are already full. So let's not add more to your plate. Anyway, let's move on. Mr. Yomi Lawal has his hand raised. Please go ahead, Mr. Yomi Lawal.
Thank you. Dr. Oye, thank you very much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. Really appreciate it. My question is very basic, and I think we might have addressed it at some point, but I need a little clarity on it. We talk about vegetables and nuts. I want to know, when we cook vegetables, how much do we cook before it starts to lose its value? And that's on one side. We Nigerians, we mix our vegetables, you know, in our soup, and we cook it a lot. And then we recook and rewarm. Does that make any difference at all to the potency of the diet?
Are you done?
Yes, that is exactly, that's all I want to know.
Okay.
Generally.
As a general principle, vegetables should be eaten raw. But because some vegetables are not easily palatable, a measure of warming or heating or cooking is done. But that cooking should be minimal. Then the green water that comes out of the cooking should not be thrown away. it should be incorporated into the soup, because that is where you have most of the minerals going.
Phytochemicals too.
Exactly. Chloroplasts are a bundle of complex phytonutrients that are bodybuilders. And we should never throw that green water away at all. That is where everything is. The rest is just fiber.
Right.
So as much as possible, we should eat some things raw. And whilst we are saying this, may I mention something very important? Ewedu, Cocorus olitorius. Ewedu.
Jute leaf.
Ewedu is a blessing to Africa. It is so versatile, it will deal with diabetes and cancer effectively, and more and more and more. Please research on Ewedu.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And sorry,
olitorius.
I want to have a follow-up on that, please. Now, talking about Ewedu in particular, and you said cook it minimally. If you cook Ewedu and then you rewarm it after a day or two, is that still useful?
It's still useful.
But not as good as fresh one.
It's still useful.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So the Ewedu, for those who do not speak Yoruba, Ewedu is the same thing as jute leaf.
Yeah, correct.
Jute leaf
jute plant.
You can get jute leaf from African store.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, they have them frozen. So I don't think freezing them will diminish the properties.
No,
so,
it's still good.
Yeah, some people have also advocated for the drinking of a jute leaf raw. That is, blending it and seasoning it and just drinking it as though they are drinking smoothie. So I have not tried that, and I don't know, you know, if I'll try it anytime soon. But it's also delicious with the amala and gbegiri combination that they call abula. So you can combine Ewedu, which is jute leaf, in any form that is palatable to you. And I think it's very affordable. It's not very expensive. Can easily you know, purchased locally. So is there any other question that anybody has? I see somebody. Okay, another question is the benefits of locust bean. Iru, the locust bean called Iru. Okay, can you say something about that, please?
Locust bean. The first thing about it is the richness of the amino acids in the protein in locust bean. It's extremely rich for the body. The second thing is that it is prepared in a fermented way and provides means for probiotics in the colon for the production of amino acids and vitamins which you cannot get outside the body. So it's extremely important. I eat it a lot.
And there's another one, not as fermented, that is called Iru-Oju. That one, the Yorubas believe that it actually has a major benefit on sight, vision, eyes, eye health. So they call it Iru-Oju. It's usually like light brown and doesn't have the sour taste.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
is less fermented and doesn't have the same kind of smell or taste of the fermented one. There are two stages of fermented locust beans too. There is the one that is individually separated, and there is the one that is excessively, well, what I would call extremely fermented, which is really soft.
Yeah, it's coagulated.
Yeah, so they call that one iru pete. That is, it is kind of like muddish or like clay, soft. Whereas the first one, there are three stages of fermentation. The one that is not well fermented is the iru oju. The one that is mediumly fermented is called iru woro. That is, it's individually separated. And the iru pete is the one that they roll into balls. They are very soft, and you can't really separate the individual cotyledons, you know, before cooking. So locust beans are, you know, it's a very great gift to, you know, to the people who can use it as part of their cooking. All right. Is there any other question at this point? Any other comments? If there are no additional comments,
there's one in the chat box right now. One
what?
Francis.
Okay, the one that says, what herbal mixture would you recommend to a person with a fatty liver or hepatitis?
I don't know whether we know the sunflower family. The sunflower family is called Asteraceae. Now that is simple taxonomy, Asteraceae. Now, a few members I will mention. One of them is called Aspelia africana. Aspelia africana. Can we spell that? A-S-P-I-L-I-A?
Dr. Gaza, can you help us type that? That's your that's your area.
Aspelia africana.
Okay.
The common name is African marigold. African marigold. The Yoruba name is Nyonyo. Nyorinyo. Another one of that same family is called Ageratum conizoides. Ageratum conizoides. A-G-E-R-A-T-U-M. Ageratum. Then conizoides. C-O-N-Y-Z-O-I-D-E-S. Conizoides.
It's called goatweed.
Goatweed, correct? Goatweed. Or the Yoruba name is Imiesu. Imiesu. Yet another member of that family. I'm mentioning this because if you combine them, you are going to have multiple positive effects on hepatitis, any type of hepatitis. Another one is Bidens pilosa. Bidens pilosa. B-I-D-E-N-S. Just spell Biden and add S to it. Bidens, then the second name, pilosa, P-I-L-O-S-A.
I'm typing them as we are mentioning them. So,
all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
No charge.
Now, if you add to these members of the Asteraceae family, all of which are antibiotic, antifungal, antiviral, sorry. If you add to these ones the following: turmeric, stroke black pepper. And you add dandelion, and then you add moringa, you have an effective formula for any form of that disease you have mentioned, whether it is A, B, or C, or D, or whatever.
Right, the liver, fatty liver, as well as hepatitis.
It covers it. It covers it.
Right. I'm just kind of reiterating the conditions mentioned. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Let's see if there are other. Okay, what are the medicinal benefits of? Well, we already addressed that. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ghazal, for putting all the spellings there. I think goatweed is also used other than for the heart, other than for the liver. I think in the area of
stopping bleeding,
used in ED. That is. Goatweed is used in ED, erectile dysfunction. Yes.
Yeah, there's another type of.
Okay.
There's honey goatweed.
Honey goatweed. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so that's
honey goatweed. Yeah.
So there are two different plants.
Yeah, there are different species. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Mm.
All right. Thank you so much. Are there any more questions? If there are no more questions.
One quick question.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Elukweju.
Dr. Oye, as a naturalist, what do you think about all these tablets that we prescribe, which are, are made of some products, and then they add chalk to them to give them form, and they're so expensive, for so many things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. So I just want to know your own take on all these orthodox pills and tablets that cost billions of dollars that people take every day, as opposed to the thing that you've been talking to us about tonight. Thank you.
Well, to answer that question, I have to be very
diplomatic.
Yeah, diplomatic one. But the only thing I will say is that I personally, for decades, have not touched any artificial tablet, not even one. And as I said at the beginning, to the glory of God, I am as healthy as a fiddle at my age of 84 plus.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any more questions? Please raise your hand if you have any more questions. Speaker is very willing to engage and to enlighten us more on any issues raised. I've made some observation tonight, and that is very interesting. It seems that the women or the female participants today have been very quiet.
That's true.
Is it because Dr. O is is not present today? Anyway, I believe that despite the fact that there are no questions from the ladies, I'm sure everybody has been informed about things that are very relevant. And please feel free to still ask questions and make comments before we round up. I think there's a question here that says, please remind, okay, thank you. It's just a reminder. Okay. Dr. Veronica from California is saying something here. Thank you, sir. We're just thanking Dr. Mike for the presentation. So in the absence of any more questions, let me just do some reminders. Dr. O will be in Nigeria in few hours, and part of the agenda that she has in Nigeria is to have the 2-day medical mission in Oshodi, Lagos. The information is being displayed on the screen, and I think AJ, could you help us put the link for those who might want to give donations? If you have received email from Dr. O, WhatsApp, there should be some links there for you to make some donation towards the success of the medical mission taking place on the 15th and 16th of December in Oshodi, Lagos. All right, somebody is talking about the jute leaf for me, the stars for me. Okay, thank you very much for all the comments and questions raised. And I think it's a lot of information. We can replay this. You can go back to the YouTube or Facebook and play back the recording at any time as needed, and to further, reinforce the knowledge that has been passed on to us today. Before we conclude, Brother Mike, can you just round up this session for us and give us something we can go home with?
Thank you so much. We have highlighted a bit about diabetes and cancer, two prevailing diseases in our communities, even spreading to our rural areas in Africa because of major deviation from eating naturally and now eating many artificial food, processed food, depending on so much sugar in our diet and so on. We have seen the connection between both cancer and diabetes because of wrong diet and the production of poisons in the body that have caused cells to multiply in a terrible way, causing a lot of deaths all over the world. And we have tried to look at reversing these things by changing our diet, depending more on plant food, and even if we eat animals, producing the animals in a natural way. What we eat is what we are. We are what we eat.
Absolutely.
So we will advise very much that we change our lifestyle in our eating and drinking, and pass this on to our people from the home to the community. We are surrounded by so many things that are free from nature that can improve our health. And I have mentioned some of the plants, very common things, which we can use to make our health better. And I'm praying that this will spread to as many people as possible. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. We want to thank our speaker again for an eloquent presentation and very engaging exchange. We are very blessed to have somebody like that in our midst. I've already touched on the medical mission that will be going on in Nigeria, in Lagos. If you have relatives in Lagos or the environment that could take advantage of the medical mission, please send the flyers to them. If anybody still wants to donate and support the mission, the link, I'm sure Dr. O has sent you a link. If you are joining us for the first time, please, AJ, can you please post the link for donation to Global Vision Foundation? If we have that, then at least we can try to conclude tonight. One thing I want to mention, because we've talked about this at many different times, the use of Hospital Too Far. I think one of the things that Dr. Mike Oye just mentioned tonight is the danger of chronic constipation. Chronic constipation, because that is one thing that most people suffer, but they never even seek any assistance for years. The Hospital Too Far vegetable is one of those gifts that God has given to mankind. If you will eat Hospital Too Far on a regular basis, you will not have, you will not have constipation. And actually, this is something that is very dramatic. For those who have had rectal or, anal prolapse, if you eat Hospital Too Far continuously, it will reverse the prolapse amazingly. So I think that is something I wanted to just leave with everybody, that if you have been struggling with constipation, please look for Jatropha. Look for Hospital Too Far, or look for, is the same one called Efoyanopaja. So if you can find somebody, if you are out of Nigeria, you can find somebody to source it for you and send it to you. I don't think they sell it in any of the African stores in the US. So please, that is something I think you can use tomorrow. You can use it tonight. When I travel to Nigeria, I always come back with dried, Hospital Too Far vegetables. So please, if you can do that, I think you'll be very helpful in maintaining your health. Now, the constipation part is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, Hospital Too Far is loaded with so much. So please bear that in mind. So without much ado about dragging this on, I will want to bring us to the end of the Medical Mondays with Dr. O. We wish Dr. O a journey mercy to Nigeria, as she's airborne right now while we are doing this Medical Mondays program. Thank you everyone for participating today, and wishing you a very healthy rest of the week. The focus of Medical Mondays with Dr. O is about prevention, and to know that, lifestyle choices are very important in maintaining good health. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for supporting us this way. Wish you a very good night. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajagbe.
You're